Hey everyone! Happy Pagan Happy Hour. How are you guys doing today? So let me know in the comments real quick that you can hear and see me okay, just so I know that the technology is working okay today. But I am so excited to share a drink with you all and have a chat. So I have a lot of fun things planned for today. I thought we'd start by talking a bit about Yule, decorating for Yule, some of my Yule favorites. Then I found some interesting stuff about how the Vikings and the ancient Norse celebrated Yule that I thought we could talk about. And then I thought I would dive into a few pagan themed gift ideas if you are still doing some Yule shopping. So I thought I would do that as well. I have some fun stuff to share. But welcome. If this is your first pagan happy hour, welcome. This is a really fun chat that I've been doing every Friday. I've been doing this for the past few weeks, and it's a great way for me to chat with you, for you guys to chat with each other in the live chat. And it's been really fun. I mean, it's Friday. We could all use a drink. I could use a drink, so might as well have one with the community. So if this is your first Pagan Happy Hour, I want to give you a big hug, a big welcome. And I'd love to hear where you guys are from, where you're watching from, and what you're drinking today. So make sure to type that in the comments. During these pagan happy hours, I'm always kind of checking over here, keeping an eye on your comments and your questions. And this is really meant to be a two-way conversation. So I'm always bringing in your thoughts and ideas into the discussion as well. So I see several of you are mentioning it's your first pagan happy hour. Well, welcome. Let's see. I see some of you guys are commenting where you're from. Let's see. I see Long Island, New York, Oregon, Kansas, Rochester, New York. I'm actually from nearby there originally. Let's see. I see Texas. I am currently in Texas. I live in Dallas now. Let's see, I see London. It must be late in London right now. It's probably in the late evening there, right? Let's see, I see Iowa, Arizona, Philly, Maine, Utah, North Dakota, Michigan, California, British Columbia, Arizona, Rhode Island. Oh my gosh, we're like hitting all the states here. It's pretty awesome. It's great to see that there are so many pagans all across the United States, and of course in, all over the world as well. I know the time that I do these pagan happy hours at 5 o'clock is around like midnight for most of Europe, so not everyone there can chime in, but I see a few people from England are staying up for this, so thank you for staying up. But yeah, let's see. I see you guys are talking about what you're drinking. A lot of people are drinking eggnog, wine, juice, tea. That sounds wonderful. Today I have a old-fashioned. I do my own kind of version of an old-fashioned. I put some whiskey in there, but then I also put some Cointreau, orange bitters, and then instead of a sugar cube that's like crushed or muddled, I put a little maple syrup, and then I put a cherry in there, and then I put a little bit of the cherry juice that's in the bottle in there as well to add a little extra sweetness. So it's my own version of an old-fashioned, but I really like it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining and chiming in. So I'd love to hear from you guys as well what you've been reading lately. I'm a big reader. I love to read. And I picked up this book last week, and I wanted to recommend it for any fellow history nerds. So last Pagan Happy Hour, I went on a bit of a tangent about the ancient city of Alexandria and the Library of Alexandria and the life of Hypatia. And this book kind of has a lot of that similar content. They actually cover a bit about the Library of Alexandria, but it's predominantly a really fascinating read about the rediscovery of pagan knowledge and pagan wisdom in the early Renaissance. So this book won the Pulitzer a few years ago, I think, but I'm just now learning about it. And it follows, it's a history book, but it's done in a very kind of engaging, easy read way. It follows a Italian called Poggio, probably pronouncing that wrong, in 1417, so before the start of the Renaissance, and he's an avid book obsessive, and he travels to remote monasteries trying to find remnants of the old pagan texts from the Roman Empire. And one of the things he discovers is Lucretius's On the Nature of Things, which is a long poem that talks about the atomic theory, but also all of these other interesting scientific and philosophical ideas. And this book is making the case that that single discovery kind of kickstarted the Renaissance, which is a really great thesis. And it's so true when you think about the Renaissance in general. It all kind of started because people were rediscovering pagan ideas. They were bringing back the lore, the myths, the stories, and incorporating it in artwork, incorporating the philosophy into contemporary theater works and everything like that. So yeah, it's a really great read for any history buffs out there, so I thought I would share. Let me see what you guys are reading. Let me check your notes here. I see Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. That's a fun one. I really liked that book. Let's see. Oh, sorry. I see someone's mentioned that I didn't mention the title. It's called The Swerve, How the World Became Modern, and it's by Stefan Greenblatt. So good read for any history nerds out there. Let's see. Someone's mentioning a couple other reads. Let's see. I'm reading The Moral Animal, Why We Are the Way We Are, The New Science of Evolutionary Psychology. That sounds really interesting. I've been hearing a lot about the book Sapiens, which is also, it's kind of more about early human history when we became Homo sapiens. Definitely want to read that one. But that book sounds good too. Let's see. Chloe Bunny is mentioning, I just finished Kitchen Table Tarot, funny and in-depth. I've been seeing that book around. I haven't picked it up yet, but I love the idea. I am a tarot enthusiast. I do tarot readings. I teach tarot, so I'm always looking for another good tarot book. Let's see. Let me see what else you guys are mentioning as things you're reading. Let's see. Someone's mentioning a book called The Witch's Daughter. That sounds interesting. Someone's mentioning The Crucible. I remember reading that in high school. That was fun. But yeah, thank you guys for sharing. Oh, I see someone's mentioning they're reading Germania by Tacitus, the Roman, which I have not read Germania, but there is a great series on Netflix right now. Gosh, the title of it is escaping me at the moment, but it's really neat. It shows the Romans and then the pagan Germans. So this is pre-Christian. And what's fascinating about this series is the Romans are speaking Italian and then the Germans are speaking German. So you have to watch it with subtitles, but it's really great. It gives you a fascinating look at ancient Roman culture and ancient Germanic culture. So, oh, I see someone mentioned here, The Barbarians. Yes, that's what it's called. I finished it a few weeks ago. Would definitely recommend for anyone who is interested in Germanic paganism or Roman paganism. I'm always keeping an eye out for TV shows and movies that feature pagan society. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Brendan. I totally had forgotten the title. I see James here is asking, have you seen Outlander? I watched the first 2 seasons. I love the concept. It's a bit too like romancy for me. I'm not as big a fan of like romance shows or romance novels, but I really love all the kind of the pagan aspects of the ancient stone circles being a portal, because I think there's definitely something there. Definitely. Okay, so I love to ask you guys a few questions, because since we are talking about paganism and you guys are from across the states and beyond, we all celebrate Yule in different ways. Some people are celebrating it from a Wiccan context, some people from a Norse, Celtic, Roman. There are so many different ways to celebrate Yule and so many fascinating aspects of this holiday season. The majority of what we consider Christmas traditions are in fact pagan. So one of the great things about being a modern pagan is you don't have to give up all your favorite things about the holiday season because they're already pagan. So I'd love to hear from you guys if you decorate for Yule and how you decorate. For me, I am a bit of a minimalist, so I keep it relatively simple. You're not going to see like a whole decked out place. I have my Yule tree over here, and then I also decorate my altar space. In this apartment, I have this bookshelf that I use as my altar. So I take all the shelves and then I fill it with statuary. I always try to incorporate natural materials. So I go out and gather evergreens and branches and pine cones and put them on there. And then I always add some tarot cards that I associate with Yule. I put some candles on there. So that's how I tend to decorate. I usually focus it on my Yule tree and my altar. And then I have a few, little decor items back in my pre-pagan days that I just have lying around. But I'd love to hear about you and what you guys do to decorate. Another thing that has been really annoying me over the past few years is this tree right here is a plastic tree. So I feel like a horrible pagan right now. And I grew up always having a real tree. Like I would go to the Christmas tree farm, we cut one down, we bring it in. I grew up mostly in upstate New York, so there were plenty of Christmas trees available. But oh my goodness, I live in Texas now, and the price of real trees, and I accidentally won this, oddly enough, with a raffle. I won a free plastic tree in a raffle. I don't want to hate on plastic trees too much, but I know eventually I want to get back into having a real tree, because for my style of pagan decorating, I'm really into bringing the nature in, just collecting random, evergreens, whatever I can find, and bringing it inside. So let me see your comments here. Someone's mentioning a wreath. I did get a real wreath at least. So I have that hanging above where I have my music area. So I have a nice real wreath at least, because I do feel so guilty as a pagan having a fake tree this year. Let me see. Oh, I see someone's mentioning how the fresh trees smell so amazing. Totally agree. That's like one of the biggest benefits of having a real tree. They just smell so good. I do have a large rosemary plant that I brought indoors that kind of helps that, bringing in that kind of Christmassy smell. Let me see what you guys are mentioning here. Oh, someone's mentioning mistletoe. I've been wanting to get some mistletoe because that is a great way to celebrate the Norse pagan Yule, because the mistletoe tradition is from Norse paganism. So I definitely want to get some mistletoe. Let's see, what else are you guys saying here? Oh, someone's mentioning decorating trees outside with orange slices and bird treats. I love that. I love decorating with natural things like orange slices. Bird treats is wonderful, taking care of the animals outside during this time of year. So yeah, that's a lovely idea. People are mentioning a Yule log. I do not have a fireplace here. If I did have a fireplace, I'd definitely do the Yule log thing, which is another pagan tradition that goes way back. Someone's mentioning I hang a cinnamon broomstick right around Halloween and I keep it till New Year's. I just bought one of those at my grocery store. I love those cinnamon broomsticks. I know they have them at Trader Joe's, but I got mine at like a local grocery store called Sprouts where they had it. So that's a great way to kind of bring in that smell, and it's like a broom. It's like a kind of a witch's broom vibe. So that's a great decoration as well. And thank you guys for sharing how you guys are decorating. It's so fun to, talk to other pagans about this, because you guys are the only pagans I'm communicating with at the moment. I don't know many pagans here in Texas yet, since I'm fairly new to the city. I'd love to hear from you guys as well on if there are any pagan gods or goddesses that you associate with Yule. Because I think this is interesting. I know some people spend this time of the year trying to connect with certain deities. So I'd love to hear if there are any gods or goddesses that you connect with Yule. And of course, it might be different depending on which pantheon or pantheons that you follow. I see we have a mention here for Saturn. That's a great god to focus on this time of year. Oh gosh, we have a Finnish goddess. I'm going to pronounce this entirely wrong. Myliki. And Finnish paganism is really interesting. I was lucky enough to visit Helsinki, and it's such a beautiful country. I really need to go back. I see someone's mentioning Frigg. Let's see, people are mentioning Odin and Thor. It does definitely make sense to appreciate, to work with the Norse gods this time of year, as a lot of our Yule traditions come from the Norse religion. Let's see, I see mentions for Odin again, Balder, Frigg, Freya. Yeah, definitely good mentions. I agree with the whole Norse gods. I definitely use this time to connect with Odin. Another random deity that you might not be familiar with that I connect with this time of year is Mythros, also called Mitra. But Mythros is a Roman deity that may, in fact, even go back further to ancient Persia. But when you visit Rome, one of the weird things about Rome is underneath a lot of the basilicas and the churches is an ancient Mithraeum. So they call it the cult of Mithra. But keep in mind, when academics say the word cult, they're not talking about how we view the word cult. They're just talking about a religious community. So this was a group of Romans. This was a variation of kind of religious ideas that was popular among mostly the soldiers, actually. So you can find these Mithraeums, these temples to Mithra throughout the Roman Empire, because that's where the Roman soldiers went. They're super fascinating. They're always subterranean. They had kind of a secret society where there were like levels, and a lot of the Masonic ideas are, in part, in my view, based around Mithra. So the reason I connect Mithra to this time of year is because the reason Christmas is celebrated on December 25th, not the solstice, is because Mithra was born on December 25th. So a lot of the Jesus ideas actually refer to Mithra, this ancient Roman pagan deity that may even have older origins. So he was a deity that was kind of considered like a sun god, right? A sun god that the military especially worshipped. So when Christianity came in and wanted to convert, especially the soldiers, they shifted it so that they would be celebrating the birth of the Son of God on the same day that the Romans used to celebrate the sun god. So there's a lot of fascinating connections between Jesus and Mythros. So if you want to nerd out, I've done like a couple videos about this in the past. Last year I did one titled, "Why Does Christmas Fall on December 25th?" Because I've always been interested on, since a lot of our Christmas traditions are based on Norse and Anglo-Saxon and Celtic traditions that fell on the winter solstice. But the solstice is always on the 21st or the 22nd. So I was like, where do they get the 25th from? That's like a few days later. Where is that coming from? So it most likely comes from the idea of the god Mythros. So anyway, that's another deity you may not have been aware of that I connect with Yule and this time of year. Let me check your comments here. Let's see. Yeah, thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. You guys are mentioning Zoroastrianism. Yes, so if you take Mythros and you go back to ancient Persia, it becomes Mitra. Mitra was a prophet in Zoroastrianism. So that's another kind of neat aspect. Some people don't see a connection. They're saying that Roman Mythros is not the same as Zoroastrian Mitra. And then some say, no, it is a direct correlation. The Romans actually got the concept from the Persians when they invaded, but they go back and forth. There's a really great book on Mythros. I have it linked in one of my videos, so you can check that out. But yeah, but I did want to talk about the Norse pagan version of Yule. And I found a nice quote here I wanted to share with you guys. Let me pull that. And with much of Norse paganism, we don't know hardly anything from the actual Norse pagans. They didn't write that much down before the time of the Great Christianization. So keep that in mind, that this quote about the pagan Yule celebrations was written by a Christian, so it's probably biased. But I wanted to share with you because I think it's interesting. So let me read it for you guys. So this is a Christian describing the pagan Yule celebrations that were still going on in Scandinavia. So they say, it was ancient custom that when sacrifice was to be made, all farmers were to come to the heathen temple and bring along with them the food they needed while the feast lasted. At this feast, all were to take part of the drinking of ale. Also, all kinds of livestock were killed in connection with it, horses also, and all the blood from them was called halt, sacrificial blood, and haltboli, the vessel holding the blood, and haltener, the sacrificial twigs. These were fashioned like sprinklers, and with them were to be smeared all over with blood the pedestals of the idols and also the walls of the temple within and without. And likewise the men present were to be sprinkled with blood. But the meat of the animals was to be boiled and served as food at the banquet. Fires were to be lit in the middle of the temple floor, and kettles hung over the fires. So a really interesting account of a pagan celebration of Yule. And I think it's one of the interesting things about being a modern pagan is we research, we look at, what the pagans did, and we think, okay, how can we take that into the modern day? And there the tension exists between, how authentic do we want to make it, right? And for me, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not like full Reconstructionist and I'm not full neo-pagan. I'm like right here. Like I really love the idea of bringing ancient customs into the modern day, but I also understand it's not always going to work that way. So I was looking at this quote and I was thinking, okay, if we are trying to celebrate Yule as the Norse pagans would have celebrated it, how could we take this quote and come up with our own kind of way of doing this, right? So firstly, they're mentioning this is a gathering that's taking place. This is a feast that's taking place. So I think one of the main ways you could celebrate Yule as a Norse pagan or a modern Norse pagan would be to get a group of people together and celebrate with a big feast. Obviously, that's much trickier to do this year because of COVID, but in general. I also think it's interesting the line that all farmers were to come to the heathen temple and bring along with them the food they needed while the feast lasted. So it's kind of, to me, it sounds like it's a potluck, right? Like everyone's bringing the food that they want to eat in kind of a potluck way. So that's one thing I thought was interesting. Now here we get to the controversial part, the sacrifice of the livestock, right? And usually most livestock are killed in autumn. So a lot of the Samhain traditions are tied to the fact that you harvest the livestock traditionally during autumn. But I mean, there would still be some animals to harvest during this time of Yule. Now, this gets kind of tricky, right? Because how are you going to give a sacrifice to the gods if you're a Norse pagan? But nowadays it'd be really taboo to like kill a goat or a cow and then butcher it and eat it. But I wonder, like, could there be a middle ground, or maybe that's not as weird as we think it is? I was watching a episode of Anthony Bourdain's travel videos. I loved Anthony Bourdain. And he was visiting the Czech Republic, and he was mentioning how in winter, early winter, people would purchase a pig, you hire a butcher, and then the butcher, you bring a big community get together, they all hang out in your backyard. The butcher slaughters the pig, portions out the meat, cooks it in various ways, and also portions it in ways that are going to be easy to store for the winter. And then with the meat that's cooked immediately, you have a big feast, right? So this stuff is like still going on today. And I was thinking, obviously, I'm not very initially comfortable with the concept of like showing up at a pagan gathering. Here's, a cow. We're going to like slaughter it. We're going to cook it as all part of one big feast and ritual. But at the same time, is that more cruel than what's done in factory farms? It's probably a lot better, especially if you purposely choose an animal that was raised humanely, free range, all that kind of stuff, grass fed, and then you hire a butcher who knows what he's doing, can harvest the animal effectively. So there's so much emotion when it comes to food, right? And I was a vegetarian for like 10 years. I'm not anymore. So I mean, like, I totally get you guys that are vegetarian and vegan, and obviously this is something that you're not okay with, and I totally understand that. I totally understand that. But the Jewish custom of kosher, it's not that different than what they're describing here, where you have a member of the community that's a leader or religious member of the community who blesses the animals who are then slaughtered and then distributed. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. I'm not going to give, a straight answer on if that should or should not be done. But I do think we like to turn a blind eye to eating meat and how it's raised. And, I've personally been really working on eating meat that's raised sustainably and ethically. So I'm not saying, that this is as bad as it seems at first glance. I think we've just become so sensitized to the concept of meat, yet we all eat it for the most part. But so I thought that was interesting. And I think it brings up a lot of fascinating issues as a modern pagan, because so many of the ancient pagan rituals involve an animal that is eaten. So, and then some of it is sacrificed to the gods. So obviously in most modern pagan settings, you probably wouldn't want to do that. You probably would just, sacrifice some meat or some wine or, some fruits, vegetables, whatever. But I understand the other side too. The other side that says, hey, we're just recognizing what the reality. And the reality is these animals are being killed and might as well have the animal being killed with love, well, maybe not with love, but at least ethically, humanely, and then eaten and appreciated. So let's see. Oh gosh, I'm nervous looking at your comments. I've probably upset a lot of vegans, and I don't mean to. I totally understand vegans because I am horrified by factory farming, and that's why I was vegetarian for a while. But yeah, let's see. So I'm seeing a lot of both sides here, and that's what I think. It's just each pagan group's going to be different. But I just wanted to let you know, if we're looking at how the Norse pagans celebrated Yule, I'm going to be honest with you guys, right? So let's get into the other parts here. So they mentioned dipping sticks into the blood and then kind of scattering it. And this is interesting. So I got this book last year, and this is kind of designed like a children's book, but it's about pagan celebration of Yule, and it shows it in the imagery. Let me show you. So there's a couple pages here where it shows the blood being splattered, and the priest here is taking the sticks, and he's got the bowl that had the sacrificed animal blood, and he's putting them on the statue of Odin here. And going back, you can see that they're kind of at a meal. They're, cheersing the Yule father, Odin. So it's a cool book. I really liked to see the depiction of a pagan celebration of Yule, especially in the format of a kind of children's book, even though it is a little bit intense. Though I should mention, the author of this book is a little bit questionable. So just keep that in mind. And I didn't link it down below because of that reason. But I would love to see more books, fun books about Yule coming out. So let's see. So I just wanted to show you guys what that might look like because I found it in that book. But yeah, so I think the whole concept of sticking the sticks in the blood and then scattering it, it's a little dramatic. Some pagan groups, some Norse pagan groups might be cool with that. Some might not. I think there are definitely alternatives though. You could dip them in wine or mead or something like that. So I think it's really a spectrum. And that's what I was talking about. You have the pagan reconstructionists, you have the neo-pagans. So I'm somewhere in the middle. So you have the pagan reconstructionists, and they would probably think it's really cool to go ahead and, like they do in the Czech Republic, get everyone together, hire a butcher, get an ethically raised animal, and, cook that meat and eat it and celebrate. And then you have the neo-pagan version, which would not, necessarily be as historically accurate, but could still, convey the main themes and ideas of how Yule would have been celebrated. So, yeah, let me see your comments here. I see someone's mentioning Thomas Russell, the author. Yeah, he's a great scholar. He's very intelligent. So I agree with that. I just disagree with some of his political opinions. But yeah, I still have the book. I think this is a beautiful book. Let's see. Yeah, there's a really great point here. Someone's mentioning, I think back in the day, it was so much harder to attain meat, so sacrificing some was legit a sacrifice. Whereas today, we are so fortunate to have food readily available. That's true. So sacrificing, meat today isn't quite the same as it was back in the day. Like sacrificing money probably would be more accurate, or something of more value, right? So definitely, like, if you think about alcohol, a lot of people sacrifice alcohol. That's a more expensive item, and a lot of cases it's more expensive than meat. So maybe it's even more authentic to be sacrificing a bit of alcohol, to be pouring that out for the gods, because that in a lot of cases costs more, is more of a sacrifice than meat. So yeah, you guys are bringing up some great comments. Yeah, great comments. Thank you guys so much for sharing, and thank you guys for being so mature about this, because it's such a difficult topic. But I think if we ignore these topics, then we're not being true to our quest of paganism, right? We're not being true to what's really going on. So thanks for sharing that with me. So let's see. Let me check your comments. Okay. I see someone makes a great point about giving money. Giving money is how the church got into indulgences leading to the Reformation. You're right. So maybe giving money to the gods isn't as good an idea as kind of pouring some mead out or something like that. Yeah, so that's a great point. We don't want to necessarily be like Christians there. Let's see, checking your comments. Okay, great. So next, I wanted to shift gears a bit now that we discussed some historic ways to celebrate Yule, and I wanted to talk about some fun Yule books and items for the holidays. So I'm going to do a little bit of a gift guide, I guess. So the first thing I wanted to mention is this necklace that I got recently, and very astute Norse pagans might know the symbol. So this is the staff of a vova, who is a kind of a female shaman, sorceress, diviner from the Norse path. These staves were buried in the graves of a lot of women. And this is a silver necklace that's a reproduction of a vova staff. And I found this last month, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because I love jewelry and items that are inspired by paganism. So I reached out to the brand and the creator of this, who lives in Sweden. So the brand is called Soldesir. and I had a Zoom chat with her. And so really exciting. She agreed that she'd like me to be a brand ambassador for her. I've never done that before, but I have a promo code for you guys. So her website is entirely dedicated towards Norse history, Norse paganism, and she recreates jewelry and things like that that is inspired by Norse paganism. So everything is like rune jewelry, rune rings, rune necklaces, and things like this, which are based on artifacts. And she also has these really nice scarves that are made in Italy that feature Norse pagan scenes on them. So I have a promo code for you if you're interested, no pressure. The promo code is Scarlet10. I have it linked down below in the description. You get 10% off. I believe this specific necklace may be out of stock, but she's restocking it soon. But there's a ton of gorgeous rune jewelry on there. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been on a quest for like more minimalist, feminine Norse jewelry for quite a while, because Norse paganism has boomed in popularity, which is wonderful, and I'm so excited. And there's so many fun jewelry brands that feature Norse pagan designs, but most of them are designed for men. And I wanted to find something that was a little bit more my style, which is more minimalist, very dainty, very feminine. And I wanted something a bit more high-end. All her designs are like silver or gold-plated, and I wanted something that wasn't made in China. So my options were limited, and I was like so excited to find her, which is why I wanted to set up a Zoom call with her and chat with her. So I have that linked down below in case you're looking for, you know, jewelry for yourself or for anyone that, you know, is also pagan or just fascinated by Norse history. So another thing I wanted to share, because a lot of you guys have asked about my Mjolnir necklace that I wear in most of my videos. I wear this like 95% of the time. And earlier I had mentioned I got this when I was in Denmark, and I got it at the National Museum there. And it's based on it's a replica of a actual Mjolnir that was found in a gravesite. And so in case you're curious, I actually found the link. They sell this online, even though I got it at the museum shop. So if you're looking for a Mjolnir that's a little bit more delicate, a little bit more feminine, and based on an actual Mjolnir that existed in history, I have that link down below. I'm not sponsored by, you know, the Danish museum, the Danish National Museum, but I thought I would share that with you because I know a lot of you guys have asked me about my Mjolnir. And when I was visiting Scandinavia last year, my like main quest was like, I'm gonna find a Mjolnir, I'm gonna find like a historic one, I'm gonna find like a nice delicate one, and I succeeded, and I was so happy. I know that many of you are fellow heathens, and you know, there are so many lovely Mjolnir necklaces out there. It's just so hard to find like a smaller minimalist one. So I just wanted to share that. And I have a couple books to share. So for those of you that might be Wiccan or just starting out, I highly recommend this book, which is Yule by Dorothy Morrison, A Celebration of Light and Warmth. This gives like a basic history on Yule customs from around the world. And, you know, it's got some great like holiday gift ideas, or sorry, not gift ideas, holiday recipe ideas, decoration ideas, craft ideas, really fun. And it's a great starting book if you're kind of new to paganism, or maybe if you're more Wiccan. Definitely recommend this. And let's see. I got this book here, which I mentioned in my last Pagan Happy Hour about Krampus. This is a fiction book, but it's really fun. It's a really fun read. So if you are interested in Krampus and would like a, you know, really exciting book, Highly recommend this one. The author Brom has another book called The Child Thief, which is a retelling of Peter Pan, which I also really enjoyed. So I mentioned this in my last Pagan Happy Hour, but this is a really fun Yule gift if you have any other pagans in your family or community, or if you just want to get it for yourself. And lastly, I thought I would mention my tarot deck too. If you haven't purchased my tarot deck yet, you should think about it. It is being printed by the printer. They're going to ship it to us on December 17th, and then we're going to be shipping it out. So it's still currently listed as pre-order, but it's going to go out real soon. And I'm just checking the comments. It seems we got some trolls in the comments. Sorry about that. I am a one-woman show. I do not have a moderator. Maybe that's something I need to think about. But yeah, so sorry about that in the comments. I don't have much control, unfortunately. Maybe I should get a moderator in the future. But yeah, so those are the things I wanted to mention as a little Yule gift guide. This necklace, I wanted to give you the link for my Mjolnir in case you're interested, and then give you some book options. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of everything I wanted to go through today. But I want to make sure, I'm answering your questions. So feel free to type any questions, Yule related, or even just kind of general pagan, witchy related, and I'd be happy to answer. I see someone's mentioned, have you watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and their Yule episode? What's your opinion on that? I have watched, I believe, all the episodes of the new Sabrina series. I can't remember what happens in their Yule episode. It's a fun series. A lot of people are probably upset by that series, especially they portray pagans horribly, but I kind of think it's fun. I don't remember what happens in their Yule episode, so you'll have to let me know on that. Let me see. I'm going to check your comments here. Let's see. I see a comment here. I have just found the pagan Martha Stewart. Sometimes I feel a little Martha Stewart-y. So that's probably accurate. I'm probably the least gothy witch pagan you could probably find. Let's see. I see someone's mentioning the Sabrina show and says that it's dynamically fantastic. It's very fun. As long as you don't take it too seriously, I think it's a fun show. Let me see. Someone's asking why I moved to Dallas. Moved to Dallas because of my husband's job. He got his job moved to Dallas, so that's why I moved here. But I'm enjoying it so far. Let's see, I'm checking your comment here. I see someone mentions heathens are pagans, but not all pagans are heathens. Very accurate. Just kind of like Wiccans are pagans, but not all pagans are Wiccans. And Wiccans are often witches, but not all witches are Wiccans, and not all witches are pagans. It's a confusing tree sometimes. Let's see. Oh, some people have been mentioning here in the comments wanting me to do a video on Frau Perchta. Probably pronouncing that wrong, but she's like kind of the Germanic Yule witch, I believe. I haven't done a video on her yet. I might do that maybe maybe next week. I feel like I did Krampus this year, which was very Germanic, and I don't want to do too much German stuff this year. I did the Krampus video, and then I did the Yule Goat, which was more Norse. But there's still so much. I also wanted to do some Slavic pagan stuff, but there's so many amazing topics I could cover for Yule. Last year, I probably did like 5 or 6 Yule-themed videos, and this year I've done a ton of Yule-themed videos. So like each year, I'm gonna tackle it eventually. I can promise you if I don't get to it this year. Let's see. Someone's mentioning an Italian witch that's similar to Santa. Oh, La Befana in Italian culture. That sounds really interesting. I haven't looked into that, so I definitely need to check that out as well. Someone's mentioning here that they're happy I did a video on the Yule goat. I really been looking for, I want like a giant Scandinavian Yule goat, and I want to put it at the base of my tree, and I haven't been able to find one. I want like a large one. So let me know if you find one. Send it to me because I need to buy that. Ooh, someone mentions to do a video on Hungarian paganism. I would love to. I briefly visited Budapest several years ago, and I was like obsessed. So I would love to learn more about Hungarian paganism. I know nothing about it. Sounds super fun. Let's see. Okay, checking your comment here. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing all your thoughts with me. This pagan happy hour has gone just about everywhere. We started talking about Yule decorations, then we moved into different deities you connect with Yule, and then we talked for a while about Yule Norse pagan traditions and how to adapt them in a modern context. And then we finished with a bit of a gift guide. So this has been quite the journey. I have now finished my drink, which is an indication that I should probably stop being live so I don't say something too stupid. So thank you guys so much for joining me for Pagan Happy Hour. We'll be doing this next week, and next week it's extra exciting because that'll be the Pagan Happy Hour right before Yule. So we're gonna have like a Yule party. So let me know in the comments what we should do for our Yule Pagan Happy Hour. Maybe I'll do a giveaway, lots of ideas. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And we'll do a big party next week. It'll be super fun. I'll probably make like a Yule themed cocktail. It'll be a great time. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you do enjoy my channel and enjoy these pagan happy hours and enjoy my content, one of the best ways you can support me is by becoming a Patreon. I am not a full-time YouTuber, but would love to spend more of my time on YouTube creating free content for you guys. And if I get more patrons, I can actually do that, and that would be wonderful. So if you are thinking about you know, how you can support this channel, I got my Patreon link down below if you want to spread a little holiday cheer. And I want to wish you all the best. Happy Yule. I'll see you next week, which will be for our really fun Yule edition of Pagan Happy Hour. And I'll see you guys then. Bye.